25. I think it may be longer than that, but we did a lot of work together with equine welfare and wellness, and we did a lot of work together to really ferret out what the credentials and sort of steps to instructor certification with PATH. But Pebbles, in my humble opinion, was one of the real forerunners. Pebbles. I mean, how can you go wrong with Pebbles and Boo? You know, I mean, all we need is Boo. But anyway, Pebbles really took the field of therapeutic riding and now equine assisted services to new heights, because I believe I'm right, Pebbles, that St. Andrews was the very first college to offer a degree program in this work, in therapeutic riding. And we were very lucky, and why I know Pebbles as well as I do is that we often had a lot of her students come and intern with us. So it was such a synergistic thing. I'm just delighted to introduce her. Jody, I see you joined on. Brenda, we love you, but Pebbles, let's let you get going. And Jody, if we have time, we'll introduce you at the end. But it is my great honor, and Pebbles is doing this for free. She works incredibly hard with the HHRF. And so we really thank you, because I completely think that where we need to go is to prove that this stuff does work, and to be able to have this be a living wage for all of us. We need to have research. So that is what Pebbles is speaking about tonight. So thank you, Pebbles. Take it away.
Thank you. What's my time on this? Just to give me
25 minutes.
25 minutes. 45 minutes. Okay, then I can handle that. Yeah. So just so you know, I did teach at St. Andrews University, which is was in Laurinburg, North Carolina. Unfortunately, they closed 2 years ago. I left during the pandemic. So my life has been very progressive about where my path has been laid out, and I just followed it. And so I'm here as the CEO for Horses and Humans Research Foundation. Now I'm kind of supporting my students who are out in the field with research. And I am a doctor, but it's a doctor of education, and it's actually in sports management. And my project, my dissertation was basically developing a master's in equestrian leadership. But unfortunately, I got out of education, so I never got to implement that. But here I am with Horses and Humans Research Foundation, which is 21 years old. We've funded over $1 million in research in the past 20 years. And those research studies go from, we've had 4 in autism, 4 in veterans. They've been with cerebral palsy or trauma. So there's a variety, but I will say, and I have to say this proudly, that we really were one of the first to kind of get into veterans and funding those studies for veterans. And we really have a really cool study going on right now with Baylor University with Dr. Corey Smith, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I don't know the audience. I don't know how many of you know about research. So I'm just going to go a little bit with about education, about research, and why it is important, and how do we use research? Really, how does it help equine well-being? Can it affect your bottom line? And I'm not sure if y'all talked about social licensing, but that's a big thing about how the public perceives us or perceives horses, and how horses are being treated in the public eye. So that, I mean, I could do a whole session on social licensing. I could get into that, but research can help us with that aspect. So really with research, you want to have it so we can really advance our knowledge, improve animal welfare, hopefully kind of do some best practices about what is the best way of handling um, our clients as well as our horses. And with that, you're going to say, where do you find research? What's really stopping you? What's the process? Who really benefits from it? And a lot of it is that's what I mean. HHRF was started basically to fund research because there wasn't a lot out there, and we felt like we knew it worked, we can see it work, but how did it work? And we needed to have those kind of stats behind that. So that's where we really came back into benefit. Not only do we need the research, but now it's like, hey, we really need to do some education about it. And if you're like me, I never thought I would ever get my doctorate just because common sense is my biggest like
Oh, yes.
is
Pebbles, you're exactly right. You are a common sense kind of gal.
I am. I'm very common sense, and I was scared that would I lose my common sense if I went down that path of getting my doctorate. But really, that's what we're trying to do is translate research and make it really common sense and really palatable, and so that people enjoy looking into research, because really you just need to peel back the big words and all the logistics of it, and it really can be fun. And so that's part of what we're trying to make research here at HHRF, is to make it fun and also educational and accessible too. So the factors that are stopping us are really, do we have the time? Sometimes it's confusing. When you watch the news, they'll say, well, don't eat fatty foods. And then the next thing they say, the research says eat the fatty foods, but don't eat this food or do this food, or exercise this way or exercise that way. And part of it is it can be confusing. It just depends on the research itself and how it's presented. Also, the thing about research is it builds upon itself. So you'll do a smaller study and you'll find out some answers, but you won't find out all the answers. So you need to do a better study and find out those answers. So it's always building upon itself.
So Pebbles, can I just interrupt?
Sure.
After all of the conferences and seminars and things that I've done in my life, the most inspiring one that I did was when I went and was with you all at HHRF in March. And I highly recommend that people put this on your calendar. You will be so inspired. You will be so ready to jump in and keep doing it. So do you have the dates for next year's?
Yes, I do. It's February 20th and 21st.
Okay. Sorry. And
No. And
just
and
highly recommend it. Keep going. Sorry.
no, well, I was about to say the other piece of that is you've heard me probably say is Dr. Stephen Peters. We have really asked him to be our keynote speaker for the past 2 years, and I had to kind of twist his arm to come back this year to be the keynote, because he understands the horse brain and he is so good about translating his information and that so that everybody understands it. So this year is going to be a little different. We're going to do actually a horse brain workshop before the conference. So that's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning. And then Friday afternoon, it's going to be a horse fair, but it's going to be more specific about bringing the research to the barn. And so I'm going to have some researchers who are either involved in research or have just finished the research study, and they're going to present on that information at the barn so everybody can see that.
Wow.
So yeah, thanks for the plug, Boo, because this year's going to be really exciting year too.
I've been to a lot of conferences. I guess you don't hang around this tribe long, but to see he spoke twice for 1.5 hours. Everyone was eating out of the palm of his hand. He never used a note. Had absolutely fantastic PowerPoints, and he just made such sense. So that was
Yes.
fantastic. He's coming back. Can
Yeah.
you tell everybody the name of his book or books?
Um, oh Lord.
Sorry, sorry,
It's the horse
sorry.
science brain. I should know it right off the top of my head because I did do the forward
It's all
for it.
right. Right.
But he just came out with another one because he felt like the horse brain book was really a little bit too much with the science. So he came out a new one just recently that talks about makes it a little bit more common sense
But it's
or how
by
to apply
Stephen
it.
Peters, so I'll let you move on, but he is really somebody to look at.
Yeah, yes.
Yep.
So one of the other pieces of HHRF was the mere fact that unless you're involved or enrolled in a university, that it's hard to find the research because it's usually behind paid doors or closed doors or collections. So but there is a lot of research that is open access, meaning you can find it if you Google it or go to Google Scholar. So we decided we would help everybody by doing what's called or joining with Science Open and making a collection. So if you go to our website and go under the research tab at the bottom, there's a link called Science Open, and that takes you to a collection. And that collection will show you over 1,000 articles that either has to deal with horse and human interaction or horse well-being. And the thing about it is it has a filter on it, so it updates every night according to keywords. Now, I will say one of the problems with research is that the problem is language. Boo was talking about equine assisted services, but sometimes you'll hear about equine facilitated services, or you'll say therapeutic riding, or you might hear adaptive riding. So we don't have a really good handle on using common terminology, and that can make it difficult when you're looking up some research. So you have to really be patient and maybe change the words around a little bit to really find exactly what you're looking for when you do
Well,
use
and again, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if Laura's still on, but I think Laura as our leader in E3A was really trying to establish some of the terminology. And I know we beat that horse to death with past, but I
yeah.
think this field is evolving so quickly that I think that some terminology stuff would be really important. So that's another plug.
And that's the other
And
piece
and
on our
Pebbles,
web.
I just had somebody that said, where's the conference gonna be? And it's outside of Orlando, right?
It's in Kissimmee, Florida.
Yep, yep,
We're about probably in the next 2 weeks, you'll see some information up
great.
about it. But I did say save the date a couple of times, but it's February 20th and 21st in Kissimmee, Florida. So, yes, Boo, you're absolutely right with terminology. And if you go to, again, our website and look under the research tab, you will find there a resource that we're giving researchers to say this is where you should be looking or saying for terms, so that we're trying to get everybody on the same path. But, you see. So the way you can use Science Open, which is kind of fun, you can pull out an article and then you could have all your staff or your volunteers read it, and then it'll be kind of fun in the sense that you could kind of present or look at different research and for a staff meeting, do an article for the month or a research club. But the great part about it is for grant writing. So if you have a center and you are looking to get funds, if you have if you go to Science Open and have some research to back what you are proposing to do. And I will say, for example, our past president, Nancy Pascal, went on Science Open and she wrote a grant, and she had so much research in there that they offered her more money because they said that she had the research to back it. So it's going to pay off. So just make sure you do it. So anyway, some of the problems you find is accessibility, but we're saying, hey, we have this open access, this collection. Um, you know, it's very easy to use. It's time saving. All you got to do is put your little word in the search engine. There's the QR code. If you want to scan it, it will take you straight there to Science Open. But to talk about a little bit about research, and we can really, this is a whole nother session, but you have qualitative, which is really focusing on the meaning and the motivations behind it. And you'll see a lot of that because it's more descriptive. It usually has questions. You probably have even participated in some qualitative. And then you kind of have research by the practitioner. And this is just something you are problem solving. You're trying to figure out. And most of you who own horses have done this a time and time again, especially if you have horse colicking. You're like looking at, is there, manure in a stall? Is it, when was the last time he ate? Did he drink enough water? Has he been rolling? Does he have shavings in his hair? All of those things. It's just problem solving. And then you have quantitative, which is really looking at the data. And it's more kind of number crunching. Then we had some accountants in here who probably could help us with it, quantitative. So if you look at a research article, there are different parts of the research article. And then one thing that you need to know is, what is an N? And the N is the population. So how many people did they use for that research? Did they use 5 people? Did they use 15 people? Did they use 50, 100? And the bigger the N, I don't want to say the better it is, because it depends on the whole setup of the research study. But you're hoping that if you could have a bigger N, that you have more of a grasp of the population. It's really a sample size. So if you can have bigger, and that's one of our challenges with equine assisted services, that we trying to get those ends bigger. But you can do some really good studies with smaller numbers. But when you go to read a research article, I'm going to give you a hint. Number one, read the abstract, because that's like the intro piece, and that's going to tell you whether or not you want to use it or not. Also looking at the keywords. And then I kind of cheat and go right to the results and the discussion and the conclusion to kind of see exactly.
You're a common sense girl.
What?
Because you're a common sense girl.
Yeah. But if you're also looking at doing a lot more research, the literature review is also going to also help you too, because that's going to show you some other research that help them decide about their specific research study. So now I'm going to kind of jump into a little bit about equine wellness, or equine well-being, as we like to say. And in 2020, Dr. Miller came out with a 5 domains model. And this is really about human interaction and assessment of animal welfare. It wasn't just about horses, it's about animals. But with that, the 5 domains, really, the first domain is nutrition. Making sure your horse they're grazers. They like to eat and all the time, and that's what they're made for. The Mustangs are out there running wild, grazing all the time. Physical environment. We as people can't be inconvenienced, so we have our horses in stalls or smaller paddocks, or maybe it's just because of our land and that's what we have. And there's some new things that we could do to help them. But physical environment, our horses like to be out roaming and walking and moving. And then we need to take care of their health. And health is teeth and hooves and shots and worming, etc. And then you really, with the 5 domains too, you want to be looking at their behavior. What is their behavior telling you? Is it changing? We always like to describe our horses being naughty, but really they're trying to tell you something. That's the way they communicate. But those 4 domains really kind of tie into the 5th, and that's the mental state. Where is that horse? Where is he? Oh, I say he a lot. I'm sorry. I kind of dealt with more geldings than mares, but I should. Where are they? Where are they? Kind of focus. So um, sorry, I'm going to skip that. So nutrition wise, do they have enough water? Do they have enough food? Is it a balanced diet? Is there a variety of food? um, those pieces are going to help in their environment. Are they out so that they can move around? Is it fresh air? Is it something where it's got a variety to it? And do they need maybe a shelter, possibly, or do they have trees that might be a shelter? Because our horses, we have them in stalls, and that's makes it a little bit easier, especially when we're doing specific things, or maybe paddocks, but they really prefer to be out and about and moving around. And then you have the physical health piece as far as like, what's their body conditioning? Is it appropriate? Is it too, or maybe we have some horses today that have metabolic issues, and so they're overweight. And then you have some that I don't know about you, but I've had some that I feel like were accident prone and like to get, injured quite a bit. Or if there was something in the field to get hurt on, it would be that horse. But anyway, I digress. So, do they have a good fitness level? Because if you look at horses, their main thing, they love spending their time eating. And we've kind of changed that because we like to give them food in a bucket, but really they would prefer eating with their head down. Sometimes they like to look up and be a giraffe and pull out twigs and leaves and trees, and have a variety in their foraging. So, yeah, and they do like to sleep because they do need to sleep. And sometimes we've also been really neglectful as far as setting up an environment where they don't get enough sleep. Especially they like to be in a big herd so they can kind of take time and have somebody looking out and someone sleeping. And they're just like us. They function better when they have better sleep. And free choice, being able to eat and move, as you all know, is really good for their digestive system. And in urban areas, you can change up things and put things in hay nets so they don't waste hay and they're moving around. I've seen people put hay around their whole paddock so that they're moving from one end to the other. So it's not just in one spot. There's a whole, I just posted about how hay bags are better lower down to the ground, but then again, you have to make sure they're safe so their horse doesn't get tangled in. But if you think about it, a horse's saliva is really, they chew and with their head down, so they create more saliva when their head is down. I do have a vet on here, so she could really back me up on this, or maybe tell me I'm crazy. But anyway, yeah, so you want to have it natural. And there are people who are now, we've always talked about having our barn aisles really clean. And so now there's research saying, you know what? These horses are social. So why don't we have like the doors open and let them see each other and eat hay and have this, thank you. Definitely. Head down is great. So that they're social and they're able to see each other and have hay. So, our barns might not be as tidy, but they're better for our horses. And then really looking at what is making our horses better for their behavior. So their behavior is going to tell you what's going on with them. And I think we're really missing the boat with that educational piece about how to teach behavior. Because horses are social. They like to socialize. They like to hang out with their buddies, and they like to groom each other, scratch each other, have fun. They like some cognitive stimulation. They like to, you know, explore, find something new in their pasture. They're now kind of doing some tracking systems where they're like not just a big old field, like they have to go around and look at different things and or putting fence posts around your pasture so that they can kind of go on the outside of the whole perimeter. But there are some enrichment tools or things that you can do for your horses. Again, just to keep that curiosity up and kind of so they're not bored and really engaged and happy in their little. And, again, to be able to choose that shelter, choose when to eat, choose when to sleep, areas for rolling, all that unrestricted movement is really going to be helpful. And this is not something that Pebbles Turbeville is saying. It's basically part of the 5 domains, the research that was behind that. So that's why you see this really helpful piece, because it's not just a person's philosophy, it's based on research. And again, the whole mental state is, do they have something where it's reduced stress, but you're also promoting positive experiences. So this can also help you with your finances. And the key is, is kind of stepping back and looking at it. And there's a webinar that we've done with Fieldstone Farm, who is in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. And they didn't realize that they were implementing the 5 domains until we talked to them. We were like, that's what you did. But it was really great. They had some turnover in staff, and they decided, you know what, let's look at our whole program. And what they did was they noticed that they were feeding a lot of grain. Their horses weren't getting as much turnout. They were spending a lot of money with shavings. And so they stopped. They consulted with their vet. They consulted with their farrier. They got an app that could track all their horses and their feeding and everything else. So if, for example, on a Saturday, if their horse was sick, they could, the veterinarian has access to this app, and they could look at it and kind of see what was going on with that horse because they had all that data in there. So needless to say, this program saved thousands of dollars changing and implementing the program to make their horses happier, and really is kind of implementing the 5 domains. They didn't, again, know that they were doing that, but overall what happened was they were. And not only did they save a bunch of money, they also made their horses happier, and they're all that they can report that they've seen a great deal of change in their behavior for the positive side. So that's kind of cool. And kind of going back to social licensing, it's a little bit about what you're perceiving or what you're seeing. So it's all about the public. So the public will drive by and see this horse laying in the hay, and they'll think, oh, he's dead. And then they'll call you up and say, you have a dead horse out in your pasture. Well, we all know our horses lay down, and they're getting more REM sleep laying down than they are. But it's funny how things change because, people aren't aware. And part of it is education and about the public. So that's why we kind of have done some pictures and infographics to kind of really educate the public so that they do know, because social media is a big thing. And one person will take a picture and blow up the internet on something that really isn't true. And one thing I will say, I was about to say, this is about talking about hay bags, but in Arizona, I was out there and they didn't have any shade for their horses, the University of Arizona. So they had a bunch of people call and complain. Y'all need to put up shelters for your horses. They're burning outside in the heat. You need to put these shelters up. So they put shelters up, and guess what? The horses didn't stay in none of their shelters. And so the public called back and said, you need to tie those horses underneath the shelters so they can have shade. And so, it all goes back to like educating people and making sure that they understand exactly about horses and their choices. Again, using data will help you when you're doing grant writing. It's great to be able to have specific, somebody was talking about abuse, substance abuse. There's different articles that you can find on just substance abuse and treatment with involving horses. So have at it. Keep that up, and so that we have all that information out there. And also, it's also great to educate your donors about your program and to say this is really for real. We're not making it up. This is not just pony rides. We're not just playing with horses in the field. The more donors know about it, the better. And really to ask questions yourself. If you're really kind of wondering how things work, start with a question and start collecting clues and data and then trying to make sense of it and share that story. And it could be that you can find a researcher that can help you. Part of what we have on our website too is a research readiness checklist, because some people had to learn the hard way and they were like, I've never done research. So they invited a researcher in, and it really involves a conversation between a researcher and that farm personnel, the volunteers, the staff. So everyone is on the same page.
Pebbles, let me just interject here, because during my years with horsepower, we once upon a time, before your tenure, we submitted a grant to do research for adolescent boys,
Mm-hmm.
and we were not ready. So I really encourage people to. And boys were riding, and this had to be an unmounted thing. And I don't need to get into it, but I think a lot of time is really wasted when you don't partner up with the university. And
Right.
I just encourage people to not launch off on themselves. We tried like 4 or 5 research things and spent a lot of time and energy. A, we were not ready, and B, we did not have the university connection. And I think that's what was so exciting about attending the HHRF conference this year, is seeing these fabulous young people. They know the research and we know the work. And that's what needs to be the partnership. We shouldn't be trying to dabble in our own research. And
Yeah.
like trying to be your own doctor or lawyer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So really, some of the best research that you're going to see is stuff that builds on itself. And Katie Peters at CSU with the Temple Grandin can be an example of that. We gave her a grant, and it was a smaller grant, but it allowed her to do a study and then do a bigger study, an NIH study, so that it prepared her or gave her the information that allowed her to build on that next one. The other thing is most recent. They always talk about, really, if research is more than 10 years old, it's kind of old, but it just depends on what subject you're looking at too, I will say. And then you were also looking at peer review publications, and that's kind of like a gold star for any researcher. You want to have your research published. And that's something that HHRF is all about too. We want to make sure that our research is, when someone gives us a grant and it goes through our scientific advisory council, that we're looking at it to be published one day, because we want it to help out other people. I was saying just now to that we have over 1,000 articles, research articles in our Science Open. So please visit it. And this isn't open just to the United States. These are some older numbers that I had in here, but we have people all over the world accessing this collection that we've created. And then they're also, I get a report every month about the top 5 articles that are in it. That changes sometimes. Sometimes I've had some that have been like stuck in the number 1 position, or the top 5 have kind of just shuffled. So really the takeaways from this is that I want you to really enjoy research and have some fun with it, and look at Science Open, and have fun with it with your staff. If you have staff, or maybe it's like one of your meetings on here, y'all find an article and you talk about it, or invite the researcher who did the article. So really it's all about, making our industry stronger, because the more evidence-based information that we have, the better. But I love this quote from Dr. Peters. He said it on a webinar on ours, and I was like, what was that? Say that again. He said, let's remain question driven. And I was like, can I use that? Because I'm now gonna trademark that for you. So that's what I love about it. He was co-author of Evidence-Based Horsemanship, and he's also been very successful writer and author of other books about the horse brain. So that is kind of in a nutshell, a little bit about our research. I do love this graphic in the sense of who HHRF is. We're really here to support education and research, and hopefully that's supporting our volunteers, our programs, our staff, our participants, and hopefully those acorns will create future research. So
I'm sure you're wanting to have questions, but nope. Can you go back to that picture, Pebbles? Because it's an important picture.
Okay, hold
on. Hi, Brenda. You got on. Yay. Anyway, that picture is of Pebbles, and she's holding the James Brady Lifetime Achievement Award. And that is really significant because that was the highest honor that could be put out. See the James Brady Award in hand, and that's the biggest Lifetime Achievement Award that Pat, who's one of the longest running international organizations. So Pebbles knows what she's talking about. She's done the work. She's attended the meetings, and it's an honor to have you here. And that's a perfect picture to end.
Thanks. So, Boo won the James Brady Award too. So I'm in good company.
Well, I just want to say how modest Pebbles is being here this evening. So much work has gone in to the work that she's doing for all of us. And Boo, you mentioned something earlier. What E3A did is just launched a think tank to reach out to the industry and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. And a lot of them were seeing the same things happening in the industry, unregulated trainings and such, which can end up being a disservice to the horse. And we just wanted feedback and thoughts about what can we do as a collective. And continuity in terminology did come up. And I just want to remind everybody, there was a white paper done. Our Lissa poll was involved in that. And Pebbles has been just instrumental in trying to bring that terminology together and getting everybody at the conversation table. And I really want to say thank you, Pebbles, and acknowledge what it has taken you to get that done.
Yeah, yeah, it was 2 years ago. We called all the leaders of EAS together and just wanted to have a conversation. And I didn't have a big agenda. I just wanted to get everybody in the same room and talk. And we've come out with 2 projects. And one is kind of a terminology website, too. And this website is going to be for consumers, so participants who want to look for horses and something to do with horses. And then it's also going to be for those who want to, or like maybe they have a child, or maybe they're looking for a life coach, or, so it's the consumer side. And then those who are looking for education, like how do I get certified, or who do I get certified by? So we wanted to use the term horse therapy because we dislike that name, but everybody knows that name, and it's the #1 Googled name. Yeah, so, but that domain name was like $40,000 or something outrageous, and we couldn't afford that. So we do have connections with somebody who owns equine assisted services. So we're using that domain name to create this website that hopefully will be an educational tool that the industry can help educate the public, as well as a resource for everybody.
So to your point, both Laura and Pebbles, and I think you guys are really very good examples of this. I think, Laura, you're trying to get the terminology organized, helps people have access. And I think it is really a serious thing that you too can, with one afternoon and $250, get to be a certified equine therapist.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to our field.
Right.
Laura, you trying, and Egala and Natural Lifesmanship and the Equest Effect and Kathy Pike, all of those people that have proved their merit. I think we really need to honor and professionalize our field. And so thank you, Laura, for doing, for doing that, and all the other leaders. But also, Pebbles, I think what you offer us is kind of a happy entrance, that research is not this thing done in a private room and you have to have a white coat and you have to wear, glasses and have a stick up your ass to do this. The people that you presented at HHRF last year were just so approachable and wanted to share, and everybody was so eager. And that's really the feeling that you've lent this field. And the inclusion, Laura, for you as our president of E3A, really having added, come to us, let us work together. I think that spirit of collaboration is huge. So between the two, I think that's why it's really a benefit to be a member, to pay the dues, to sign up on these calls, to really educate ourselves, because this work warrants that and deserves the very qualified professionals to take care of the people and the horses and the land.
Yeah, and that whole quote with Dr. Peters about being question driven, I think the more we educate ourselves, and Boo, you've been working with horses when you were probably in diapers, and so if anyone ever tells me that they know a lot about horses, I'm scared of them. Run the other way, because there's just so much more to learn about them.
What filter?
That I feel like also I need to apologize to all the horses, some particular horses that I did work with, and I need to like pull my former students in and say, I need to tell y'all some new information that I didn't have back then. It's just really, you do the best you can with what information, but if you are stuck in a little world and you're not getting the new information, that's the problem.
And that's what these calls are designed to do.
Yeah.
Cheryl asked, is it possible to get access to all the slides? And I don't know if you're still on, Nicole. but it is recorded and these are on the E3A website. And I would even look back. We just had one with Dr. Jesse Newberry. Most of us work with older horses. Again, me having done this since before I was born, or diapers. But Jesse Newberry did a great job about the older horse. Laura has done about terminology. We've had some really wonderful people on these calls, so please spread the word. Nicole, can you please? So Nicole, tell what your role is for E3As, please.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole, Office Manager for E3A. So I think what Cheryl was asking, Boo, was if they could specifically get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, not the recording. And that would
Yeah, I can send it to you. I did fly through it, and there were some slides that I didn't use. And I also had a game in there, but I realized I was running out of time. So,
thank you.
But I can definitely share that with
If
y'all.
you send it to me, I can get it to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, because you went through some that you didn't get a chance to talk about, and they look so good. And some of those myths, I'm like, wait, I want to know that.
Yeah. The myth, I do that with kids, and then I found out that adults like it too. So yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
It's like I keep saying that my goal one day is to have enough money so I can be Oprah and go, you get a grant, you get a grant, you get a grant. Because there's just so much out there that we really need to study. And, especially with your organization, leadership and coaching is one of those areas that needs more research. And the beauty of what we do is we have in place a scientific advisory council. So say, for example, I'm just saying this, I'm not doing this as an advertisement, I'm just using an example. But if E3A came up with, $20,000 and wanted to do a pilot study, and you gave it to us and we crafted what you wanted, we can make the call, and then we would accept those grants, and our scientific advisory council rates them. And then the way we do it now is they rate them, and then the top couple go to our board and do a presentation. And so then we pick from there. And I will say that that's one thing with HHRF, that we don't fund just because we make a grant. If we don't have any research application that is not worth the money, we're not going to award it. And we've done that. There's been years, if you look at our awarded grants, there have been years we've skipped because we didn't feel like it was worth the money. So because we work really hard getting money donated, and I feel one of our values is to be honest and sincere and transparent. So if the money is not going to be used right, then we're not going to use it for any specific research.
Super. Pebbles, so we had just one question. Somebody said they can't access the Science Open Portal. Who would she connect to for this technical issue?
Just if you could send me an email, that would be great. It's just CEO at horsesandhumans.org.
So Pebbles, thank you. Nicole, thank you for making this possible for us. This kind of quality education is one of real member benefits of E3A. And I just every month get inspired. So share it among your friends, and let's keep it on. Thank you.
Okay.
Go back.
Thank you.
Teach. Bye.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.